Well, we'll start with the Republicans because that will be mercifully brief, I think. There was a report, I think this was CBS News, about the primary challenge to Donald Trump. And I think that there's just an insane amount of wishful thinking out there that there will be some good challenge from his side or from the Republican side as well. So many of these people are bought into the idea that there's this energy to get Donald Trump out, where they have the energy, but Republicans don't have the energy. From the perspective of most Republicans I know, Trump is doing mostly a good job. There may be some free trader concerns with the tariffs and this, that around the edges. Some Republicans I know that are not fans of the wall, but his judicial appointments have been great. All the stuff that, no new foreign entanglements. This is all good news, especially for the non-establishment Republicans on the ground. Well, that's just not good enough for some of the news types who just really are praying for this challenge, this Bill Weld or who knows who that may come out and help break him down so that he's more defeatable by a Democrat. Here is USA Today's Susan Page on her wishful thinking for the Trump primary challenger.
Yes, he said there definitely will. He said it will be symbolic. But, symbolic challenges to incumbent presidents can be really damaging. Ask George H.W. Bush, ask Jimmy Carter, the impact of having a primary challenge, even when it doesn't take the nomination away from you. I think this is a subject that should be probably of more concern to the White House than it is, because there's not really a question at this time that President Trump will retain the Republican nomination. But these primary fights can be brutal.
To reference the George Herbert Walker Bush, which is George W. Bush's father's primary challenge, he was challenged by Patrick J. Buchanan from the right. He was insufficiently conservative, and Buchanan was making hay with it. And he lost a lot of votes to Buchanan, never enough to actually challenge that he would lose the nomination for president, but enough that he had to spend money, and he also kind of looked embarrassed and weakened with a weaker base going into the general election. That was a big problem for George W. Bush. They want it to be a big problem for Donald J. Trump. Here's why it is absolutely not going to be a problem. President Trump hasn't done anything to betray his mandate or his base like George W. Bush did. This working so hard to get a wall, while I totally disagree with it, in almost every way, I disagree that there should be a wall. I disagree with the method, this emergency declaration, that I think that shouldn't have been done. But Donald Trump is trying to fulfill his mandate, his campaign promises. Nobody can say that they didn't think he would try to build a wall. I mean, this is the biggest thing that guy ever promised, right? Again and again and again. Build the wall, even higher. Wall just got higher. Well, he's trying to fulfill his mandate. He's not running against it. And just as a reminder of where this primary challenges can be rough stuff comes from, let's think about the read my lips, no new taxes pledge that George Herbert Walker Bush made. Now, I'm sure you've probably heard that line 1,000 times, if you're old enough anyway, since it's been said. But do you really have a sense of how it was said and why? Let's go ahead and take a quick listen.
And I'm the one who will not raise taxes. My opponent now says he'll raise them as a last resort or a third resort. But when a politician talks like that, you know that's one resort he'll be checking into. And my opponent won't rule out raising taxes, but I will, and the Congress will push me to raise taxes, and I'll say no, and they'll push, and I'll say no, and they'll push again, and I'll say to them, read my lips, no new taxes.
If you couldn't tell by all the applause, which I left in on purpose, and the grandiose tone and sweeping language of it, that was not a Manchester, New Hampshire diner stop on the campaign trail that got blown into some big thing. No, that was a principle, maybe the principle for so many Republicans, campaign promise that George Bush delivered at his nominating convention. It was the big platform. This is what we're going forward with. No new taxes. And if you don't know, he then went ahead and actually did raise taxes. That's what produced the anger, disappointment, whatever you want to say, that led to the primary challenge that was successful in damaging him as well as it should have. What are these promises for if not to be relied on? I would actually think I would prefer if politicians kept campaign promises that I didn't even agree with, just so we could actually rely on them for something. How else? You elect these people and they just do whatever the hell they want and enjoy the power of the incumbency. So Donald Trump doesn't have anything like that to worry about because he hasn't done that. He's actually, by and large, done what he said he would. So you may not like him, but you can't say that he is some kind of person who promises one thing and does another, I don't think. That doesn't seem to be a fair criticism of the President of the United States. So just keep that in mind when you read something about how he's got a tough primary, maybe have a tough primary challenge ahead. Don't believe it.